Jerry, what was the best thing you ate in Paris?
I did have this creme brulee.
Yeah.
They bring it out to you and it's still on fire. And I'm like, ooh, fire. Let me take a picture. Like, wait a minute, you're going to burn your creme brulee. And I'm like,
Welcome to the Sports Moment from the Washington Post, your ticket to the Summer Olympics. It is Sunday, August 11th, and I'm Ava Wallace, a sports reporter here in Paris. Today, it is the Closing Ceremonies, and I'm joined by two familiar faces, Post reporter Rick Maese and Post columnist Jerry Brewer. But first, let's do the medal table. Okay, Rick, Jerry, I am a sucker for symmetry, so you guys are back to close out the show after coming on the first episode with me and opening it up. So thank you guys for doing that. How you doing?
I'm terrific.
Bonjour, Ava.
Bonjour, Rick. Okay, here is the gold medal count as of 9 a.m. this morning in Paris. China is in first with 39 gold medals. The United States is coming in second with 38 gold medals, but leads in the overall medal count with 122. And Australia and Japan are tied for third with 18 gold medals each. Let's talk about some of the action yesterday briefly. The U.S. men's basketball team beat France 98-87 to win gold. Steph Curry had 24 points, 8 three-pointers, hit the night-night celebration on you. Jerry, you were there. What was it like watching Steph in his first and probably last Olympics?
Oh, it was incredible. And 4 of those three-pointers were at the very end. Yeah, so he really did shut the door on France's hopes of winning a gold medal, and his celebrations and the crowd celebrations, the celebrities couldn't be cool anymore. It was amazing to watch. He hit one of those threes and he yelled at him, "You don't know about me." And I think that's a reference to the fact that everybody knows Steph Curry in the world who's ever even thought of basketball, but they've never seen him on the Olympic stage. And for him to go Steph at the Olympics, that's one of the things I'll remember most.
I will remember. I was just out in a restaurant watching amongst the people in Paris, and Victor Wembanyama was just crying afterwards, the French sensation. And I was like, he'll be back at the Olympics, but he won't be back with the chance to win a gold medal in front of his home crowd. That's what I'll remember. I was out at women's soccer watching the United States win gold 1-0 over Brazil thanks to Mallory Swanson's 57th minute goal. That was probably the most intense crowd I've seen here. I haven't seen anything close to a half-empty arena even, but the Brazilian fans really bring an extra level of energy. And of course, the U.S. fans were chanting and singing and everything the whole time. That was really fun. And one last time out at track, Rick, you were out there. You watched the United States win both 4x400 relays. How was that last night at the meet?
It was great. I mean, they capped another amazing meet for the United States. The U.S. ended up with 14 gold medals, 34 medals total. It's their best showing since the 1984 games in Los Angeles. And, last night was kind of the perfect end. Both relays won. Gabby Thomas ended up with her third gold of these games.
Wow.
Sydney McLaughlin-Levrone ended up with her second gold medal. So every single night, I don't want to say it gets repetitive in a bad way, but the U.S. kept winning. They kept going to the medal stand. And the very last moment there in the stadium was, the Star-Spangled Banner playing for the United States. And the lights go down and they turn around for the closing ceremony. So it was another fun night out there.
After the break, we are going to share our lasting takeaways from these Paris Games. What do you guys feel like were each of your most memorable moments watching events?
Looking at the video board at Stade de France after the men's 100 and seeing photo, and then last place 9.91 seconds. What a competitive race that was. I'll never forget looking and not knowing and no one knowing for several minutes in the stadium who won.
Rick, what about you?
Seeing Katie Ledecky win once again in the 800 special, just because like Noah Lyles, we've been around her since she was a teenager, and it's just so amazing to see her still at the top of her game at age 27. But I think seeing Leon Marchand at the swimming pool, the fans react to him and respond, and the energy was there, and especially coming off Tokyo where there are no spectators, it just felt like the moment where like, oh, the Olympics are back. The energy is there, the excitement's there. And you felt a little bit of every day, in Paris or in these venues. But really, that was the moment inside the building where just everyone was just lit up. I'll remember that noise and that energy, for years to come.
I'm hitting the big three of the Olympics here. I think my lasting image will be Rebecca Andrade winning gold in the floor routine in gymnastics, and Jordan Childs, whose medal is now in jeopardy. It's at the Court of Arbitration for Sport. Jordan Childs, I think, to her left, and Simone Biles to her right, who won silver, and they're bowing, and she's just got both fists raised in the air in celebration. That was just a really, really fun, joyful, moment that, to me, captured the Olympic spirit. Okay, Rick, you talked about Leon Marchand really igniting the crowd in France. It was so fun watching him, not as a French fan, but just as someone who loves watching swimming at the Olympics. Do you feel like these games successfully did what they were supposed to do, revived interest in the Olympics, kind of relit the flame after Tokyo and Beijing?
Yeah, I think when the dust settles, we'll understand a little bit more. But certainly here in the moment, as we approach the closing ceremonies, it feels like a success. It feels like there were very few hitches. The controversies, there were certainly some, but they were overshadowed by the athletic achievement we saw here. And, there just weren't the kind of complaints you felt on a day-to-day basis and the concerns from both the people of Paris, the competitors, the organizers. I just felt like it went a lot smoother than a typical Olympics. And they set the stage and the athletes were able to shine. I think we saw that day after day here.
What did Paris in particular do well, Jerry? I think a lot of it has to do, and we talked about this coming in, but just being back in a friendly time zone for American audiences. So from our perspective, people are able to watch so much more easily. NBC really did, it seems like, a great job with its coverage from what we're hearing from back home. But how much did Paris do to make these games a success?
Well, Paris did what Paris does best. It sparkled. They were incredibly thoughtful about where to put venues. They really captured the city's beauty. I think it helped that everybody in the world of any level of fame wanted to come to Paris and did. Ultimately, the Olympics are just a stage, and what you're going to remember most are the athletic performances. And I don't recall anyone that we thought was going to deliver not win at least one gold. Everyone gave you something memorable. I'll never forget Novak Djokovic, who it's got to be. He's talking about playing in Los Angeles in 28 at age 42. Bruh, you're going to sit down. That was his last chance. And to see him outduel Carlos Alcaraz in a 2 hour and 50-minute 2-set match, that was special as well. So the stars came out in Paris, and the stars shined.
It's funny, if you go back to Tokyo, we left there talking about what didn't happen and who didn't succeed and who didn't thrive under the spotlight. And there were a lot of reasons for that. Obviously, that was a pandemic games, but it's the exact opposite here. Every day we saw the people we wanted to see do what they do. And, not just the American athletes, but across the board. And that's really what made it kind of fun, is this is what the Olympics are supposed to look like. It's supposed to be the best athletes on the planet giving their best performances on the biggest stage. And I think we got that here.
There were some controversies with Imam Khalif, the Algerian boxer, with the triathletes getting some mysterious illness that may or may not be related to swimming in the Seine. There was all of that. But was there anything that felt like to you, Jerry, really marred these games that you're going to think like, man, if that hadn't happened, though, it would have been It didn't seem like that to me.
No, there wasn't anything that just took over the games. Khalif and the gender war in boxing was an incredibly sad story, but it kind of ends in triumph. Both of those boxers walk away with medals, and there's a back and forth there. There was the Canadian Spygate in women's soccer that dominated
like
the first part, got rid of the coaches, and they acquitted themselves well, and you really enjoyed just the athletes, not who led them. You go all the way to going to breakdancing. I'm not calling that thing breaking because that's a silly name.
That's your right.
You are so old, man.
And I'm not calling it breaking. Like, breaking is
right, I'm not calling it a sport.
Like,
so go on.
If it's breaking, like, I should be able to take a bunch of glasses and throw them up against the ground and try to get a medal that way. You're dancing. It needs to be breakdancing. But anyway, you go to breaking and you see a woman from Afghanistan, wearing a cape, saying save Afghan women, essentially, and getting disqualified and having a display. And that's kind of her John Carlos, Tommy Smith, Black Fist moment. So many amazing things happened. And so even when there was controversy, it just seemed like the athletes rose to the occasion and showed you humanity beyond the negativity.
What big questions for LA 2028 did Paris set up? We're having the closing ceremonies today. Our editor was telling me it was Snoop Dogg, her, Red Hot Chili Peppers. We're going to see some very fun performances, some very California performances. So that's going to take us off into what's next. But what questions does LA 2028 have to answer other than how can you live up to this?
Well, I think that's the question. How do you top this?
Yeah.
I mean, LA's not going to have the backdrop. It's not going to have, the beauty and the artistry that the city just magically has. But I think you are going to see a lot of star power. LA knows how to put on a show. I think you're going to see some of that. But the venues, the setting, it's not going to be able to sparkle quite the same way. But I think we're going to see a turnover in some of the athletes. Some of the familiar faces are going to be different. So who's going to rise up? Who's going to fill the shoes? Maybe we see Simone Biles, but let's say we don't. Who's the next Simone Biles? Is Noah Lyles going to be at 31 able to do what he did here? Katie Ledecky at 31. Will she still be a big star? So it feels like there's going to be a changing of the guard on the American athlete front. And I think the next 4 years, we're going to kind of see what young athletes are going to step up and become the stars of the LA Games in 28.
It was a really, really good Olympics.
Yeah, I think that's what the main takeaway for me is. I think this is number 8 for me, and I never ranked them before. I don't need to rank them now, but to me, this was the best. From every aspect was great. I felt like the city did an awesome job. The athletes did an awesome job. Every day here was a treat. You woke up and you were excited about where you're going to go, what you're going to see, and at the end of the day, you felt like you saw something special.
I think one thing I remember the most about these games is the spirit and feeling that Olympic spirit, especially coming off of the Winter Games in Beijing, in which you couldn't interact with the city at all. And my favorite memory has to be that last night at beach volleyball. And there was a fight, a contention, an argument, I should say, between Canada and Brazil and the officials. And it was just a moment that took too long, and the crowd's like, what is going on? The DJ plays Imagine, and the athletes on both sides start laughing, and everyone in that stadium starts singing the song beneath the sparkling Eiffel Tower at night, and it just radiated the joy of being here.
You love that cheesy kumbaya Disney stuff, man.
Yeah, but it's so hard not to get swept up in it when you're sitting there.
People don't believe in cheesy kumbaya stuff anymore. And we're so accustomed, especially in American sports, to everybody arguing about, everything, whether it's COVID, whether it's gender identity, what region you're from. It's not too long that we emerged from the pandemic with the Kansas City Chiefs holding hands in a show of unity, and the crowd booed and they were defending champions, to now everybody's singing to John Lennon. It makes me want to sing to John Lennon. I don't even think I know all the lyrics to that song.
And as we take you out today on the final episode of the Sports Moment from the Olympics, we'll be singing a rendition of John Lennon's. No, I'm joking. That would be great.
I'll be humming it.
Okay. That is actually feels like a really good place to put our mics down for now. So thank you so much, Rick and Jerry, for coming in and wrapping things up with me here.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ava.
Rick Maese is a sports features writer, and Jerry Brewer is a sports columnist for The Post. Before we go, here are 2 final things worth checking out today as the games close out, and this is in Eastern Time. The U.S. women's basketball team plays France for the gold medal at 9:30 a.m. That would be their 8th straight gold medal. And the closing ceremonies start at 3 p.m. Eastern. That's the live broadcast, and NBC will re-air a broadcast for prime time at 8 p.m. So today is the last episode of the Sports Moment. While this is the end of our Olympics coverage, there will be more to come from the Washington Post, so stay tuned to this feed to be the first to know what's next. As for me, I'll be continuing to run the Sports Moment newsletter beyond the Olympics, so go subscribe there if you want to keep up and hear what I'm watching and paying attention to. And to everyone that's been following along this last couple of weeks on this very wonderful, inspiring, exhausting Olympics, thank you so much. I have had so much fun making this podcast every day and getting the chance to bring all of you our on-the-ground coverage and reporting in a different way. I'm really happy to have heard that so many of you have connected with it as well. This is exactly the kind of work that we'd love to keep serving you at The Post. If you appreciated this podcast, subscribe to The Post. It will help support this work, and it will get you podcasts ad-free in Apple Podcasts. So subscribe in our show notes or at washingtonpost.com/subscribe. That would be awesome. Today's episode was produced and mixed by Ted Muldoon. It was edited by Joe Tone. I'm Ava Wallace. Until next time from Paris.